Welcome to another presentation of what's new in MDA 8. My name is Matthias Geckeler. As the product manager for MDA, I'd like to demonstrate briefly the main changes introduced with version 8.5.4. This video takes about 15 minutes. It covers the 5 sections listed here. You can reach any of the sections via the jump marks below this video. I start with a demonstration how lookup tables are supported. In the presentation of the former MDA version, I showed already how to load curves from calibration data exchange files in CDF format. MDA 8.5.4 supports additionally to load maps. During loading of the calibration variables, some checks are done. For example, whether the monotony of the axis breakpoints is given. If any inconsistency is found, an error or warning icon is shown. Its tooltip provides more details. Valid curves and maps can be used as calibration variable in the lookup table functions of the calculated signals. I have entered the values for my example curve into the comment field for the configuration, so that you can better follow the result of the calculated signal. Besides the curve, the lookup function requires an input signal and the parameter for the interpolation mode. For my first calculated signal, I have set the value 0, which stands for constant interpolation. This means the lookup function returns the value of the curve of the respective axis breakpoint until the next axis breakpoint is reached. With MDA 8.5.4, also linear interpolation can be set. This is done by setting the interpolation parameter to 1. Then the lookup function returns values which are interpolated linearly, according to the position of the input value between 2 adjacent axis breakpoints. Both behaviors can be visualized even better in a scatter plot. The sections of the graph with the different slopes indicate the axis breakpoints. Moreover, the behavior before the first and after the last axis breakpoint is visible. In these cases, the last or first value of the curve is extrapolated constantly. Since MDA 8.5.4, maps and the corresponding lookup 2D functions are supported. The only difference compared to the 1D lookup function is that for a map, 2 input signals are needed. To make the behavior more obvious, I am using 2 input signals having a sawtooth shape. Each input signal covers one of the axis ranges of the map. Again, the axis breakpoints are shown as horizontal lines in the oscilloscope. The frequency of the input signals causes that all cells of the map are passed, starting from top left to the right and so on row by row. This can be seen easily for the calculated signal with constant interpolation because of its staircase shape. The second calculated signal demonstrates the result for the lookup 2D function with linear interpolation. 3 aspects can be observed. Obvious is the change from the staircase shape to lines with different slopes. Further, the graph shows what happens in case both input signals are outside the range of the axis breakpoints. Then the values at the borders of the map are extrapolated constantly. And eventually, for inputs within the axis ranges, the linear interpolation can be reconstructed. For example, at 165 seconds. The cursor column shows for the Y input a value of 275. Which is 3/4 between 200 and 300 in the Y direction of the map. For the X input, the value is 35, which means the middle between 30 and 40 in the map. Even without a calculator, the result of 10.5 can be figured out. The second functional enhancement I'm going to present is in the Variable Explorer. It is about a new way to define filters, which allows to get quickly to a variable list with the relevant variables only. Within the Variable Explorer, an expandable area is introduced. There, so-called category filters are provided. These correspond to the existing column filters. With future MDA versions, more categories will be added. Within each category, the same entries as in the drop-down of the column filters are listed. A simple click in the checkbox activates directly the entry as a filter for the variables list. Especially when several entries from different categories are required, this needs less clicks and reduced screen space. Different entries within one category are combined by a logical OR. This means the variables shown must match to one of the entries in the category. A category filter can be combined with the search field for the display name column. Then the listed variables must match the category filter and the search string. Such a logical AND is applied also in case entries in different categories are selected. The selection of each category can be inverted easily. Also, clearing the selection can be done per category. Additionally, any category can be disabled. Then, the category does not affect the variables list, although the selection of the entries in the disabled category is kept. Even when the icon to clear all filters is pressed, the disabled selection is kept and can be reactivated. There are two additional functions for a clearer representation of the filters. First, there is a search field in each category to reduce the entries listed there. Second, a so-called accordion mode is offered. With an active accordion mode, only one category is expanded at a time. If an entry in a category is shown in gray, this means it is already excluded by another active filter. It is on purpose that such gray entries remain in the list, since this prevents that the size of the categories changes with the selection of entries. Otherwise, a visual reorientation of the user would be required. To avoid confusion caused by having both column filters and category filters, the category filters will replace in future the column filters completely. The now following third section is a block which includes 4 improvements related to measurement files and handling of data. To facilitate loading and opening of files, MDA persists the last used path for operations like adding a file or opening of a configuration. As an enhancement of this behavior, MDA 8.5.4 uses the actual path of a file to be replaced when the replace operation is triggered. Additionally, the file name is transferred into the Open dialog. As long as the new file is located in the same directory, a faster and more simple file selection is enabled. If the path of the file to be replaced is not accessible, MDA opens the default directory. However, to allow even in such cases a quick access to the target directory, Windows itself provides a reasonable functionality. You can select and assign your folder to the quick access. This allows to jump by means of one click to any folder which is relevant for your work. With MDA 8.5.4, 2 improvements for the file export are available. First, the background color of the export progress icon indicates the overall export status. Only when all export processes are finished successfully, it turns green. The second improvement is about file compression. This results in remarkably smaller file sizes. Measurement files in format MDF 4.1.0 or 4.1.1 are compressed automatically. Files in format MDF 4.0 or lower are not compressed. A newly exported compressed file can be smaller than the original compressed file. This is because obsolete meta information might be removed from the new file, as well as MDA does not support to export all kinds of signal types currently. Another change in data handling improves the usage of signals having invalid samples. In MDF measurement files, single samples can be marked by a so-called invalid flag. In the table instrument, such samples are indicated by a red exclamation mark. but the invalid flag is also propagated in case of a calculation. Consequently, the calculation result gets invalid as well. This includes statistical data. To obtain statistical data, even if some of the samples are invalid, MDA 8.5.4 ignores such samples and includes only valid samples for statistics. Again, an exclamation mark indicates when at least one sample in the time range is invalid. In the tooltip, the situation and the exclusion of the invalid samples is explained. In the following section, I will present some smaller enhancements for instruments and the user interface of MDA. To improve the orientation, even in configurations with many layers, now the background of a layer tab can be colored. MDA allows to select one of 5 possible colors. These were defined by taking into consideration that the layer tabs can be distinguished clearly and that the layer name can still be read. Moreover, to maintain a good readability, the layer tab background color is applied to the lower part of the tab only. Sometimes it can happen that the docking window cannot be found anymore. This might be the case when changing from a 2-monitor to a 1-monitor setup, or if the docking window was sized or positioned inaptly. MDA 8.5.4 now provides a new entry in the view ribbon to restore the default layout. The change will become effective after a restart of the application. All docking windows then appear in the mode and at the position as defined originally. All other settings, for example for language, paths, instruments and signals, are kept as defined by the user. An often requested improvement is about the printout functionality of oscilloscope and scatterplot. For the signals assigned to an oscilloscope, the printout now includes the corresponding file names. In case the space is not sufficient to print the whole file name and path information, first the path is omitted, and if still needed, the file name will be truncated from left. Another enhancement relates to the axis handling in the oscilloscope and scatterplot. With MDA 8.5.4, the favorite axis range is not only supported for numeric signals, but additionally for signals having a verbal conversion, so-called enumerations. Within the axis properties, the currently shown axis range can be set as favorite axis range. This is done by clicking the star icon, which then turns blue. When a signal is assigned newly to an oscilloscope, the favorite axis range is used as default. Moreover, after zooming or scrolling a value axis, you can quickly rescale to the favorite axis range via context menu or the icon in the toolbar. A small improvement was implemented for the cursor synchronization in the GPS map instrument. So far, the cursors in a GPS map only followed a cursor movement in a master instrument like an oscilloscope. Now it is possible to move a cursor in the GPS map and the cursor follows in the other instruments. In case it is an oscilloscope and has 2 cursors in anchored mode, the distance of the cursors defines a fixed time distance. Accordingly, both cursors must follow, even if just one cursor is moved in the GPS map. An additional instrument is available in MDA 8.5.4. This allows to display video recordings created with the Inca Video add-on. The Inca Video add-on writes for each video camera a time channel into the measurement file. When such a time channel is assigned to the new video instrument of MDA, you can play the recorded video file. Or you can move with the time slider to a desired point in time. The video instrument can be synchronized in the usual manner with the other instruments. Then the picture shown corresponds to the point in time defined in the master instrument. The active instrument acts as the master. It can be an oscilloscope or another instrument which can provide a clearly defined point in time. The number of video instruments is not limited, but especially in synchronized mode, a powerful computer having a fast hard disk is required to allow a smooth and undisturbed replay in the video instruments. What else is worth to be mentioned? Within the Windows Start menu, now a direct access to the Manuals and Videos folder is available. There you can also find the latest feature video about MDF Combine. It shows how to merge chronologically MDF measurement files. Also in the Windows Start menu, the entry for Zip and Send is shown. Please use Zip and Send in case you face a technical problem with MDA 8. A short description of your last actions helps us to analyze the issue. Subsequently, the latest log files are collected and zipped. This includes an extraction of relevant entries from the Windows event log. In this way, you do not need to spend the effort for finding and collecting the log files individually. Just use Zip and Send and you can send the zipped log files directly to one of our support teams. On this slide, all enhancements of MDA 8.5.4 are listed. More details for each of the topics are given as usual in the What's New slide set. There is one topic I'd like to point out. Now also an installation under Windows Server 2016 or 2019 is possible. However, so far only one instance of MDA can be started. We are working to overcome this limitation with a future version. Hopefully this video included some interesting and helpful information for you. Thank you for watching it.